Shalom, my friend. Money doesn't change who you are. It exposes who you've been avoiding. I'm Rabbi Shimon, the Torah Life Architect, and what I'm about to share with you will completely transform how you understand wealth, prosperity, and your own financial destiny. Because here's the shocking truth that most people never realize. You don't earn money by working harder, being smarter, or even having better strategies. You earn money by becoming the type of person who can handle it. Think about it for a moment. How many lottery winners end up broke within 5 years? How many entrepreneurs who strike it rich suddenly find themselves back where they started? The statistics are staggering, and they reveal something profound about the nature of wealth itself. Money flows to those who can steward it, not to those who simply want it. Today, we're diving deep into what I call the identity code of prosperity, a Torah-based understanding that will revolutionize how you approach every financial decision in your life. And I promise you, by the end of this episode, you'll understand why your bank account is simply a reflection of your inner world, not the other way around. But before we begin, let me ask you something that might feel uncomfortable. When you look at your current financial situation, what does it tell you about who you've been? Not what you've done, but who you've been. Because according to TorahWisdom, your external circumstances often reveal the patterns of your internal beliefs and habits. You see, most people approach money from a scarcity mindset. They think if they just work harder, save more, invest better, or find the right opportunity, everything will change. But Torah teaches us something radically different. Torah teaches us that identity precedes provision. Before God entrusts you with increase, He must first establish who you are. This isn't just spiritual philosophy. This is practical wisdom that has shaped the financial success of Jewish communities for thousands of years. When you understand the identity principles I'm about to share, you'll stop chasing money and start becoming the person that money naturally flows toward. Let me share with you 3 brand new Torah principles that will transform how you think about wealth and prosperity. These aren't the typical money management tips you've heard before. These go deeper, to the very core of who you are and who you're becoming. The first principle is this: your name frames your destiny. In Torah, names aren't just labels. They're prophetic declarations of identity and purpose. Every time someone speaks your name, they're calling forth your destiny. But here's what most people miss. You have the power to rename yourself financially. When you consistently call yourself broke, struggling, or behind, you're literally programming your subconscious mind to create circumstances that match that identity. Your brain doesn't distinguish between what you say about yourself and what you believe about yourself. It simply works to make your words true. But when you begin to speak about yourself as someone who manages resources wisely, who attracts abundance, who makes wise financial decisions, something shifts. Your behavior starts aligning with this new identity before the money ever shows up. You begin making choices that a prosperous person would make. You start thinking thoughts that a wealthy steward would think. You develop habits that someone with abundance would have. This is why Torah tells us that God changes names when He's about to change destinies. Abram becomes Abraham. Jacob becomes Israel. Simon becomes Peter. The name change represents an identity shift that must happen before the external blessing can manifest. So let me ask you, what are you calling yourself financially? Are you naming yourself into prosperity or poverty? Because your words are either building your future or destroying it. The second principle is equally powerful. Roles create results. When you adopt the role of a steward rather than just an earner, your entire financial universe transforms. Most people see themselves as workers, employees, or even entrepreneurs. But Torah teaches us to see ourselves as stewards, managers of resources that ultimately belong to the Creator. This shift in role changes everything. A worker thinks about paychecks. A steward thinks about multiplication. A worker asks, "How much can I make?" A steward asks, "How much can I grow?" A worker focuses on accumulation. A steward focuses on circulation and impact. When you truly embrace the role of stewardship, you stop hoarding and start investing. You stop protecting and start multiplying. You stop thinking small and start thinking generationally, because a steward understands that resources are meant to flow, not stagnate. But here's the beautiful part. You don't have to wait until you have millions to act like a steward. You can practice stewardship with whatever you have right now. Whether it's $10 or 10,000, the principles are the same. How you manage little determines how much you'll be trusted with. This brings us to the third principle. Identity precedes provision. God does not provide based on desire. He provides based on the identity capable of managing the blessing. This is perhaps the most challenging truth for people to accept, because we've been conditioned to believe that wanting something badly enough should be enough to receive it. But Torah wisdom reveals that God is not interested in giving us what we want. He's interested in giving us what we can handle responsibly. And our ability to handle blessing is directly connected to our identity, not our ambition. This is why some people can receive sudden wealth and multiply it exponentially, while others receive the same amount and lose it all. It's not about luck or circumstances, it's about identity alignment. The person whose identity can hold wealth will naturally make decisions that preserve and grow it. The person whose identity cannot hold wealth will unconsciously make decisions that sabotage it. Think about it this way. If someone gave you a priceless piece of art, what would you do with it? If you see yourself as someone who appreciates and can care for valuable things, you'd protect it, insure it, maybe even display it properly. But if you don't see yourself as someone who belongs in that world, you might feel uncomfortable with it, maybe even find a way to get rid of it because it doesn't match your self-image. Money works exactly the same way. Your financial identity determines your financial reality, not the other way around. Now let me tell you a story from Torah that perfectly illustrates this principle. It's the story of Abram becoming Abraham, and how a single name change preceded one of the greatest increases of wealth in human history. Abram was already wealthy by the standards of his time. He had servants, livestock, and gold. But God had something much bigger in mind. However, before God could release that greater blessing, Abram's identity had to expand to match it. When God changed Abram's name to Abraham, he wasn't just changing letters, he was changing identity. Abram means exalted father, but Abraham means father of many nations. The difference is profound. Abram could father a family. Abraham could father a legacy that would influence the entire world. But notice this carefully. The name change happened before Isaac was even born. Abraham had to live into his new identity while the circumstances still looked like the old one. He had to think like the father of nations while he was still childless. He had to steward resources like someone building a generational legacy while the evidence wasn't yet visible. And here's what's remarkable. Once Abraham's identity shifted, everything else began to align. The wealth that followed wasn't just material increase, it was abundance that could sustain multiple generations and impact entire civilizations. But it started with an identity upgrade. This is the pattern throughout Torah. Identity transformation always precedes circumstantial transformation. And this is exactly what needs to happen in your financial life. You need to start thinking like the person you're becoming, not the person you've been. You need to make decisions based on your new financial identity, not your old financial history. You need to speak about money the way someone with your future wealth would speak about it. But I know what some of you are thinking. Maybe you're saying, Rabbi Shimon, this sounds great in theory, but I've always been this way financially. I've always struggled with money. I don't know how to change something so fundamental about myself. Let me address this directly, because this objection keeps millions of people trapped in financial mediocrity. The belief that I've always been this way is not a fact. It's a choice, and it's a choice that's costing you your financial future. Torah teaches us that teshuvah, return or repentance, is always possible. At any moment, you can choose to return to your highest self, to your true design, to your God-given potential. The person you've been is not the person you have to remain. But here's the key. Identity change requires intentional practice. You can't just think your way into a new financial identity. You have to act your way into it. You have to start making decisions that align with who you're becoming, even when those decisions feel uncomfortable or unfamiliar. Another objection I often hear is, this feels too abstract. I need practical steps, not identity philosophy. But here's what you need to understand. There is nothing more practical than identity work. Your identity drives every financial decision you make. It determines whether you save or spend, whether you invest or consume, whether you think abundance or scarcity. When you get your identity right, the practical steps become obvious. When your identity is confused or conflicted, no amount of practical advice will help you long term. Let me give you 7 practical steps you can take this week to begin aligning your financial identity with your financial destiny. These aren't just activities, they're identity-shifting practices that will begin transforming how you think and act around money. Step 1. Redefine your financial language. For the next 7 days, pay attention to every word you speak about money. Replace phrases like, I can't afford it, with, that's not a priority right now. Replace I'm broke with, I'm in a building phase. Replace money is tight with, I'm being strategic with resources. Your words are programming your reality. Step 2. Write your new financial identity statement. Complete this sentence. I am someone who, and fill in at least 10 financial characteristics of the person you're becoming. For example, I am someone who makes wise investment decisions. I am someone who attracts abundant opportunities. I am someone who stewards resources for maximum impact. Read the statement every morning and evening. Step 3. Conduct a financial behavior audit. Look at your spending patterns over the last month. Ask yourself, what do these patterns say about my identity? If someone only saw my bank statements, what would they conclude about who I am and what I value? This exercise will reveal any gaps between your intended identity and your actual behavior. Step 4. Practice stewardship decisions daily. Every financial choice, no matter how small, is an opportunity to practice your new identity. When buying coffee, ask yourself, what would a wise steward do? When considering a purchase, ask, does this align with who I'm becoming? These micro decisions train your mind to think like the person you're becoming. Step 5. Eliminate financial identity contradictions. Look for areas where you're saying one thing but doing another. Maybe you say you value financial freedom but you're not saving anything. Maybe you say you want to be generous but you're hoarding resources. Identify these contradictions and choose which identity you're going to serve. Step 6. Design your environment for success. Your physical environment should reflect your financial identity. If you're becoming someone who values and multiplies resources, your space should be organized, clean, and purposeful. Chaos in your environment creates chaos in your finances. Order in your environment supports order in your money management. Step 7. Find an accountability partner who sees your future self. Share your new financial identity with someone who will hold you accountable to becoming that person. This should be someone who believes in your potential and will challenge you when you revert to old patterns. Having someone speak your future identity over you is incredibly powerful. But let me address one final objection that might be surfacing. Rabbi Shimon, I don't even know who I am financially. I've been confused about money my whole life. How can I develop an identity around something I don't understand? This is actually a beautiful place to start because confusion means you're ready for clarity. When you don't know who you are financially, you have the freedom to choose who you want to become. You're not trapped by old patterns or limiting beliefs. You're a blank canvas ready for a masterpiece. Here's what I want you to do. Instead of focusing on what you don't know about money, focus on the values you do know about yourself. Are you someone who cares about family? Then your financial identity can be someone who creates security for loved ones. Are you someone who values education? Then you can be someone who invests in learning and growth. Are you someone who cares about making a difference? Then you can be someone who uses resources to create positive impact. Your financial identity doesn't have to be complex. It just has to be true to who you are at your core. And once you have that foundation, everything else can be built upon it. Remember, God is not looking for perfect people to bless financially. He's looking for people whose identity can handle the blessing without being corrupted by it. He's looking for people who understand that wealth is a tool for service, not just accumulation. He's looking for people who can receive abundance and remain humble, generous, and purposeful. The beautiful truth is that this kind of financial identity is available to anyone willing to do the inner work. You don't need a certain education level, background, or starting point. You just need the courage to become who God designed you to be with resources. As we close, I want you to understand that everything we've talked about today is not just theory. It's a proven pathway that has worked for people throughout history and continues to work today. When you align your identity with God's design for your life, when you embrace stewardship over ownership, when you speak life over your financial future, you position yourself for increase that goes beyond anything you could earn through effort alone. Your current financial situation is not your financial destination. It's simply a reflection of who you've been up until this point. But starting today, you have the power to become someone new. You have the power to align your identity with your destiny. You have the power to steward resources in a way that creates abundance for generations. The choice is yours. Will you continue trying to earn your way to prosperity with an identity that can't hold it? Or will you become the person who attracts and multiplies wealth through wise stewardship? Your soul is the blueprint. Your life is the construction. Shalom, my friend. Now let's build the life God designed for you.